Please be advised, all music tracks used in this production are original compositions. Thank you.
Hey, it's Scary Jones, executive producer of Elvis Duran and the Morning Show on Z100. I want to talk to you all about my friend and fellow Brooklyn College alumnus, Silas, your e-journalist, social work advocate. Silas hosts and produces the award-winning Kelsunn-on-the-Air social work podcast. My friend and fellow BCR alum is now known nationally and internationally as Silas, your e-journalist, social work advocate. His podcast, it's also listed as one of the top social work podcasts you must follow. The award-winning Kelsunn-on-the-Air social work podcast.
Hello and welcome to all our listeners and viewers. This is Silas, your e-journalism social work advocate, producer and host of the award-winning Kelsunn-on-the-Air social work podcast, available wherever you get your podcast. Our podcast is rated internationally as one of the 40 best social work podcasts you must follow. This podcast promotes, celebrates, uplifts, and highlights the social work profession. Our aim is to educate the general public about the powerful impact social workers have on the lives of those they serve. The podcast will also amplify the vital contributions professional social workers make in every aspect of our society every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Silas, your e-journalism social work advocate, host of the award-winning Kelsunn-on-the-Air social work podcast. Today, I'm bringing you a very special guest. I have with me Ms. Kate Travers, and I want to make sure I get her title right. She is a community manager, and she's with Chase, and she works with the community and business development department of Chase as a community manager. And why that's really important, in my estimation, is because J.P. Morgan Chase has made it a concerted effort to go into communities that are underrepresented and underserved to bring awareness about financial literacy. And that's huge, especially in the communities that are being targeted by J.P. Morgan Chase. And so I think it's great to be able to have a chance to talk to an expert in the field of laying this program out. I'm going to say what makes it even more special for me as a social worker is that my guest for today, Ms. Kate Travers, is also a social worker. And we actually met at a social work event. So I'm glad that we're having this opportunity because we always in the profession want to make sure that the public knows the wide variety of areas that social workers can work in. And this is a perfect example, a licensed clinical social worker who works in a bank to reach out to underserved communities to bring about knowledge and understanding about financial literacy. So thank you so much for being here today, Ms. Travers. And before we get started, EOP program, the Educational Opportunity Program, in your estimation, from what you know about the program, why was it the ideal target audience for this type of program?
Well, thanks for that first question, Silas. And I have to say thank you for pointing out that I'm a social worker. If you didn't do it, I would have to be sure to mention it. I always start all of my workshops with, I'm a social worker who works for the bank. Go ahead, ask me some questions about that. So to talk about the Educational Opportunity Program, you should know that it is a mandated New York State program, and it's run by the SUNY schools. And there's various opportunities for students to be eligible for EOP, including academics and income guidelines. And their goal is to help students who show potential to graduate make it across that line. And this is right in line with our mission as Chase community managers and JP Morgan Chase overall to raise the financial well-being of the community. So it was a seamless partnership to go in and provide some education to these students as they begin their educational journey in college.
And so that's a great partnership. And thank you for laying out, the whole, genesis for people to understand that. So you have Suffolk Community College and you have JP Morgan Chase. How was that partnership actually formed initially, and what was the impetus or the motivation for this partnership, which is dynamic and fantastic?
So, Silas, as you know, networking is extremely powerful. I found myself at Belport High School at a career fair. And Belport High School is in the greater Patchogue area where I cover providing my services. And I should add, there are 6 of us on Long Island and over 150 across the country who do the work that I do. While I was at this career fair, I was networking. Not only had my own table set up, but I always walk around at these types of events and introduce to myself, especially if it's a career fair or a college fair, to the local colleges to try to make connections. And I was introduced to Mr. David Johnson, who runs the EOP programs for Nassau, for the 3 Suffolk County locations, Brentwood, Ammerman campus, and Riverhead. And he was there sharing information about EOP and essentially recruiting students to apply for the program. And we just hit it off, speaking about what each of our missions were. And immediately he said, I have to get your information. So I got my card, got it over to him, and then we set up a meeting, showed him the whole curriculums, and scheduled several workshops.
Yes, yes. And one of those workshops, actually, for our viewers and listeners, was actually out at the JP Morgan Financial Center, JP Morgan Chase Financial Center out in Harlem, New York. And I was fortunate enough to be part of a panel, be a panelist for the presentation that was given to the students. And that was really special to me. And I just want my viewers and listeners to know the reason why it was really so special to me is because I am an alum of Suffolk Community College, and I graduated from their broadcast telecommunications program. So it was a great full circle moment for me, and it was really great to see how my career in social work connected with my career in media and broadcasting, and through that, being able to reach out and be a part of something so fantastic. And the turnout was amazing. There was a great deal of students there, and what I liked, and I want you to tell our audience a little bit about it, is that your presenters broke it down in understandable segments and chunks. So tell our audience about this financial literacy program and why is it important for students at such an early age to learn about financial literacy?
Well, thank you for joining us that day, Silas. It really was an honor to have you as a distinguished guest. So, why is it important to work with college students and help them step into their financial future? Because we want them to have confidence. Taking on financial responsibility can feel overwhelming for anyone. And we provide tips to help folks manage their money. And we can break it down into different categories to target different audiences, whether it be elementary, middle school, high school, college students, the elderly. And budgeting, teaching people how to budget and take control of their credit score is giving them power to be confident in their decisions and really just build their future. Budgeting can take the guesswork and stress out of understanding how much you can spend and save. And just by tracking money coming in and out, their cash flow, they can be able to find ways to save. And then they feel empowered to build generational wealth and really make confident decisions around their spending.
Yes, yes, very good, very well put. And so these students that you target, especially on the community college level and in the universities, many times they don't have the knowledge that they need at a young age to make sure that they make financially sound decisions. And so with this financial literacy program targeting them specifically, what have you learned in giving this presentation that I just mentioned and the group of presentations at Suffolk and at other community centers and organizations? What have you learned that students seem to be taking away from these workshops the most?
Well, I think you have to start when you start planning the workshop. You have to be able to know that the information you're sharing is engaging and that the presenter is engaging. Because anything that we do is really just drops in this bucket of education and networking and opportunity that students have. So, for example, in Harlem, we specifically requested a young woman of color, an immigrant to our country, who is a financial advisor to deliver the Investing 101 content. And she was able to share her story and weave it into why investing is important to build your future. She shared about her parents investing in her and in themselves and ultimately getting her to college and getting her to be a financial advisor at JP Morgan Chase. So having the presenter be relatable to the students is the number one priority. And then having the content be relative and also challenging. These students are there to learn. So what they're experiencing in the workshop is different than what a middle schooler or a high school would experience, and different than a mother of 5 in middle age. We're sure to develop the content for the audience. And what I really learned from the students is that they're hungry to learn. A lot of them, this finances is not something they spoke about at the dinner table.
Exactly.
A lot of people live, we have money or we don't have money on a given month or a given day. And there's not a lot of breaking that down and understanding why it might be different one day to the next or month to month. And giving students the skills to really, like I said, build their confidence that they can control their spending no matter what their income is, even if it's extremely limited, to understand that and establish a lifestyle where their spending matches their values. And when you start to see that light go off for students, they start realizing, how am I spending my money? Is my money, my checking account statement at the end of the month, is that reflective of who I am and what I want to do? For example, did I go to a really great concert where I spent time with my friends and I got some culture? Or did I get Starbucks 10 times last month? And if it's the Starbucks there, then, were those Starbucks visits with a friend where I had great conversation and we studied together and maybe it was worth that expense? Or was it just delivered while I was sitting alone in my dorm room? That's just one example, but we really encourage them to dive into their finances, even if it's not a lot of finances, just really where is that money going every month?
Yes, very well put. Very well put. And now, after you complete a workshop such as the ones that JP Morgan Chase presents to students, what type of assistance would be available for the students after they complete your workshop?
Well, Silas, I should go back to reintroducing what my role is as a community manager and a social worker for the bank. So my role is to be a local ambassador for Chase, and I'm responsible for building and nurturing relationships with community leaders, nonprofits, small businesses, colleges, and universities. And I act as a catalyst to connect all of them together. And so after somebody attends our workshop, they often feel eager to do more. And I can listen to them. I can build the relationship and build trust. And we can work side by side to help them reach their financial goals. And I refer them to trusted bankers in their community. By having those conversations, I learn where they live, where they bank currently, what they're in need of. And then I do that warm handoff to a banker in their community. Say they're interested in learning about investments or they're interested in setting up a specific savings account, maybe that their family doesn't have access to, but they want to set it up for themselves. I'll make that referral to we call them One Chase partners, who will then reach out and say, hi, I heard you're a student at Suffolk Community College. I'd like to invite you in to continue the conversation around your financial goals. And for a lot of our students and a lot of the participants in my workshop, they don't feel comfortable walking into a bank, whether it be Chase or another bank. They feel intimidated. They don't feel like they're worthy to be there. And this warm handoff can make all the difference with a student using a cash checking app or a cash checking place where they're losing a lot of their hard-earned money. And it establishes the relationship with a trusted bank in the community.
Very well said. I like that. And one of the things that I was very impressed about at the Harlem presentation is that, the presentation kind of covered a series of topics and points that would be important for anybody that's thinking about getting hold of their financial future, such as, identifying, like, and you mentioned this, the first steps, identifying financial goals, the time horizon, risk appetite, and the way that the questions were posed to the students, it gave them a chance to really think about, like you described. Okay, I'm spending this $5 or these $2 or this $10 in this place of business, or to buy this or to do this activity. And you talked about, your presenter talked about the ROI, the return on the investment, which I think was really key, because young people, they don't really think about that a lot. They get the money, they spend the money, and then they don't think about, but like as you mentioned, what's the value that I'm getting back in return? So at that trip, your presenters were very good with, asking the questions, and the handouts that they gave really, really served as an educational tool, so that the students walked away and felt that they'd taken something away from it, other than, feeling good about some people that came in and presented, walking away with some tools that they can use, and having those tools having been explained, I think makes all the difference. So for that particular trip and others that you did with Suffolk Community College, what kind of feedback have you been getting from the students, if any?
Well, we offer surveys after our workshops, and they have all been very positive. People across the board in most of our workshops, including students, thank you for the information. I didn't know any of this. I will be continuing the conversation. This was a real eye-opener. And it really is just setting the tone for, you can build your financial future. You can build your generational wealth. And for students that have made it to that college level, especially ones that are in the EOP programs, these are students that are qualifying because their families have a low income. They're qualifying because they had between a 70 and an 80 average in high school. But there's something about them that really shows they can be successful in college. And so providing this additional information to them really helps to raise their financial well-being, and really surrounds them with support, not only at the college level, but in the community.
Now, all of this is really, really interesting, very stimulating and thought-provoking. So now, once this episode gets released, and it's going to be available, to the viewing and listening audience, Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, that's going to generate a lot of buzz. And so what I think would be great is for you to take some time out to tell our audience, how can other communities and universities get involved in this program?
Walk into a Chase branch and ask to be connected to a community manager is really the best way across the country. There's 150 of us across the country, so we're not in every community, but we do provide some Zoom workshops, which anyone can tap into. They can also find me on LinkedIn, Kate Travers, LCSW on LinkedIn. And Silas, you're welcome to share my email at Chase.
Okay.
And, really visit chase.com as well. There's a lot of financial health resources on there that people can start to use on their own as well, like building a budget, raising their credit score, and really take a vested interest in making some strides in a positive direction for themselves.
Okay, and so as we get ready to wrap things up, I'm just going to let our viewing and listening audience know that I'm here today with Ms. Kate Travers, and she is community manager in Patchogue, New York, JP Morgan, for the Community and Business Development Department. And she has a wealth of resources. We're going to be sharing her contact information so that anybody that hears this or sees this, if they're interested in getting this program in their neighborhood, their school, their community, just talk a little bit about all the different places that you presented. So, because I don't want our audience to think, well, they'll only present if it's a college or a community center. What is the wide variety of places that you presented?
Absolutely, Silas. So I should start with, in my branch, my community center in Patchogue, I have a classroom. So that is where I do a lot of my workshops. But then I also go to churches, I go to nonprofits, I go to educational centers like BOCES or even beauty schools. I even go into businesses and help, for example, restaurant owners help their staff establish bank accounts so that they can ensure they're getting their direct deposit early rather than waiting on a check that they then bring to a cash checking institution. And then they see that their employees are losing out on their hard-earned money. So I can be found in businesses. I'm part of the Chamber of Commerce. And really, I just want to really emphasize that Chase, we understand the realities of post-pandemic economy. And it's important for us to address economic disparities in our community. And we are committed to having the work of the community managers be part of our everyday business. So you will be seeing more of this across media and just in more branches. So keep an eye out for Chase Money Skills curriculums.
Okay, and so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to thank my guest for today, Ms. Kate Travers, Community Manager in Patchogue, New York, for the Community and Business Development Division, JP Morgan Chase. I had an opportunity to attend a workshop out in Harlem a couple of weeks ago with some students from Suffolk Community College, my alma mater. I was really excited to see the collaboration and the partnership that's been formed there. And anybody that's interested in raising your financial IQ, I strongly suggest you reach out to JP Morgan Chase and Ms. Kate Travers. We'll be sharing her contact information. And if she's not in the area that you're at, I'm sure she can connect you with somebody in your neighborhood to help you become more financially literate. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Kelsunn-on-the-Air Social Work Podcast. My name is Silas, your e-journalism social work advocate, host of this award-winning show. And I've had a delightful time talking to my guest, my colleague, and fellow social worker, Ms. Kate Travers. Ms. Travers, thank you so much for gracing our show with your presence.
Thank you.
Once again, this is Silas, your e-journalism social work advocate, producer and host of the show. You've been listening to the award-winning Kelsunn-on-the-Air Social Work Podcast. This and all other episodes are available on our Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and iHeart audio podcast platforms, among others. The podcast is also available on our Spotify and YouTube video podcast platforms. Go to any search engine and type in Kelsunn-on-the-Air in the search window to hear this show in its entirety. Please make sure to click subscribe to support our podcast. And don't forget to like, comment, download, and share. To reach us for more information, email us at info@kelsunn.org. That's info@kelsunn.org. Or to suggest future topics, log into www.kelsunn.org. That's www.kelsunn.org and fill out the Share a Topic form on our homepage. Thank you for tuning in. This has been a Kelsunn Communications production.